It is indeed. Thanks very much for that weather report, Jamie Lee Domberg. Right now we're about to connect with Tulu Piri all the way in Johannesburg, and we're talking a very important thing.
Yes, it's the emotional implications of the coronavirus. That's the conversation that's going on all over the place. Tulu, take it away.
Thank you very much, Tabzi. Now, on Saturday, we all breathed a sigh of relief when it was announced that certain measures would be put in place to tackle the coronavirus outbreak here in South Africa. But just as quickly as we breathed a sigh of relief, we noticed the implications that these measures are going to have on our everyday lives. Workspaces are encouraging their employees to work from home and self-quarantine. Events, concerts have been cancelled or postponed, and of course, schools will be on shutdown. Today's topic, we are discussing coronavirus, and we want to know from you, what are the emotional implications of the global coronavirus pandemic? And to help us discuss this topic, we have our relationship expert, Paula Quinsee, with us in studio. And like I said, we want to hear from you. We want to know your comments, your questions. You can engage on us on our Facebook page, these Expresso Morning Show on SABC3, and we will engage with you live if you drop a comment underneath this post. A very good morning to you, Paula.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's lovely to have you. It's been a very anxious 2 weeks, not only in South Africa, but around the world with this global pandemic that is the coronavirus. Besides the fear of contracting the virus itself, I mean, what are the emotional implications of people having to self-quarantine and self-isolate? Why does it give people so much fear and so much anxiety?
Yeah. So generally, we don't cope well with change. And so this has now just put our whole worlds upside down in terms of our normal routines, our normal daily life, particularly people that don't cope well with change and need time to prepare. This has just been thrown on us, and that in itself, this uncertainty, causes a lot of anxiety, it causes a lot of stress, and then we start reacting in reactive ways, or what some people would say irrational ways. And if you happen to step into the stores yesterday or saw the front pages of newspapers this morning, bulk buying, stores and shelves are cleaned out, and people have absolutely gone into panic mode, and that is not good when it comes to mental and emotional factors, because it has an impact on our daily lives, on our mental well-being, and on our stress levels as well.
What is it about isolation that scares people so much that people don't want to self-quarantine, but they find themselves having to do so because of this pandemic?
By nature, we are social creatures and we are wired for connection. So putting us in isolation, particularly if you don't have other people around you, for example, single parents, people that are elderly, or people that don't have support structures in place. And this can lead to feeling isolated, feeling disconnected, and chronic loneliness stepping in can lead to the same equivalent as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which is what research shows us.
I mean, you touched on it just now, but just expand a little bit further around what kind of physiological impact does loneliness have on the human body?
Yeah. So obviously with feeling disconnected, feeling isolated, in extreme cases it can head towards depression, and that can impact our stress levels. Feeling disconnected from the world, like we've got nowhere to turn to, we've got no one to talk to, and as I said, the physiological side of that is the impact on our immune system, and being equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which makes chronic loneliness more severe than actual obesity.
And the mental and emotional implications of loneliness?
So people often can't cope well with that, and in extreme cases, suicidal thoughts can even start playing out.
Wow, so it's definitely something to take very seriously.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Paula. We're not done with Paula yet. We are going to be coming back to discuss further the pandemic that is the coronavirus. What are the emotional implications of the global coronavirus pandemic? That is the question we are discussing. That is the hot topic this morning. You can go over to our Facebook page, Expresso Morning Show on SABC3. Drop your comments and we will engage with you live. But for now, it's back to you guys in studio.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, you beautiful people. Thank you so much for keeping it locked on your feel-good kickstart to a day. And despite this rising conversation, the concerns around coronavirus, it has been a feel-good start today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. We're now talking about, in fact, the emotional repercussions of what we've been through over the last couple of weeks. We rejoin Tsolo in Joburg.
Thank you very much, Graham. We are joined by Paula Quinsee here in our Johannesburg studios, talking everything coronavirus and the global pandemic and how it impacts on your mental and emotional well-being. We want to hear from you, so you can drop a comment on our Facebook page. It is Expresso Morning Show on SABC3 underneath this post, and we will engage with you live. Paula, like we've been saying, it's been such an anxious 2 weeks, not only in South Africa, but around the world. And being a leader at this point in time can be so challenging. What can employees and leaders do to make sure that they stay connected with the people they work with, although they're no longer in the same physical space, as we have been encouraged to self-quarantine and self-isolate?
Yeah. So businesses obviously have to change the way that they work, whether they're ready for it or not. For example, going online through different platforms, whether it be Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp video, but keeping in contact, keeping in check with your employees, your teams, how are they doing, how are they feeling, giving them some kind of reassurance. I think the biggest thing that people are going to be worried about is obviously jobs, and from a financial point of view, if their salaries are going to be okay. And I think for the small business owners that may not necessarily have the same resources that the big corporates or companies do in terms of potentially, you know, how they're going to manage cash flow, how they're going to manage resources, because they are also feeding people and families that are working for them in their small businesses too. So constant communication in any format possible to remain connected and try and ease the uncertainty right now.
Now, that disconnect, that uncertainty can cause chronic loneliness. What kind of people can this happen to, or is it most likely to happen to?
Yeah. So we generally get two types of people, the introverts and the extroverts. Introverts are people that do prefer much more sort of being alone, smaller social gatherings and types of environments, whereas the extroverts actually thrive on that social interaction. So they are potentially going to be a lot more harder hit than the introverts. Or people that work with a lot of people. And so I think from an individual point of view, if you know that you need people around you, how do you maintain some kind of level of contact through social media platforms, through phone calls, FaceTime, etc. And same with employers from a team point of view, how do you keep your team connected through team communications, team interactions online instead of face-to-face?
At this point of time, I mean, we've been reiterating that it's a very anxious, people are, you know, panic buying. We saw that happen yesterday. You know, people are going all out and, you know, just exploring all kinds of preventative measures to make sure that they are covered. What can employees be doing to make sure that the employees' mental health and emotional health is being prioritized at this crucial time?
So leaders of all forms, shapes and sizes need to include the mental and emotional well-being as part of their COVID strategy. Obviously business right now and the economy is looking at the basics in terms of logistics, where and how people can work to keep businesses going, as well as the financial impact. But we need to include the mental and emotional impact as part of the strategy going forward, either using company resources like employee well-being programs and initiatives, or reaching out to other sources of support and structures that can provide some kind of support to individuals and companies in this time of conflict and chaos.
Talking about those support structures and organizations that people can reach out to, what are they? Where can people get a hold of them?
So obviously there are the various medical counselling facilities and individuals and companies that offer these sources, but then there's also the national organisations such as Lifeline and SADC, South African Depression and Anxiety Group.
Thank you very much, Paula. As you've heard from Paula Quinsee, our relationship expert, those are some of the organizations you can reach out to. It is a very crucial time with the coronavirus pandemic. People are anxious. People are going through all kinds of preventative measures to make sure that they stay safe. Lifeline is one of them, as well as the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Those lines, or numbers rather, are on your screens. Remember, we want to hear from you. Engage us on our Facebook page, Expresso Morning Show on SABC3. What are some of the emotional impacts of the coronavirus global pandemic? That is the question we're asking. Drop a comment underneath this post and we will engage with you live. But for now, it is back to you guys in studio.